Carole Haswell is a professor of astrophysics at the Open University. Great to have you on Global Business Europe. Now, land space joins only SpaceX and Blue Origin as private companies to land an orbital class booster. How consequential is that milestone?
Well, it's a huge milestone. Obviously, there's a huge difference between being able to do something and not being able to do something. And this is the first company outside the US that has been able to do this, and only the fourth organization to do it. So the Chinese Space Agency has done it, SpaceX and Blue Origin have done it, and this is the third company to do it. So China, in a sense, is in the lead because it has a government organization and a private sector organization able to do this. And it means they're completely in the game.
I wanted to ask you about that, because having that state-backed and a private company pulling this off, you know, what do you think having two paths to that same breakthrough tells us about the way that China's building its space sector?
Well, clearly they've made enormous progress very, very quickly. And I think China clearly is very organized. And when it decides to do something, it does it very effectively. So it was only, I think, 12 years ago that the Chinese state allowed private capital to invest in the space sector, and to go from sort of nothing 12 years ago to this really very impressive technical achievement today is really, you know, something that I think everybody should take notice of.
Now, the global reusable rocket market is projected to nearly triple by 2034. Where does that growth actually come from? Is it satellites? Is it government? Is it something else?
Well, when I saw that figure, I thought that sounded like rather a low estimate, actually. Because when you think about, you know, the cost of launching a satellite currently, you know, we've only just started having these reusable rockets, so it's clearly going to get a lot cheaper. And I think most of the launches will be for satellites, but satellites can be used for an enormous variety of purposes. So they can be used for Earth observation, to monitor climate change and help us to mitigate climate change, and that's obviously something that's really, really important. They can be used to see what's going on in the ground in other contexts, to allow us, for example, in agriculture, to make the best use of limited resources so that we can grow more food. They're obviously useful in combat situations to see what's actually going on. So there's a huge amount of things that just Earth observation can do for us. They're also used for communication, and I think communications from space is probably going to be a big growth sector. And then there's the idea of putting data centers in space. And if you do that, you don't need to take energy from the Earth, and you don't need to cool the data centers, because the cooling problem is solved in space. And if you've got solar panels, then you can power your data center in space. And certainly SpaceX have said they want to build a moon base, and they want to go to Mars. So there's a lot of things that people want to do. And if this gets cheaper, I think it's likely to be more than a factor of 3.
Now, you know, as you've mentioned it, SpaceX still really dominates the market by a huge margin. What would it really take for a company like Landspace to become a real commercial rival, not just a symbolic one?
Well, that's kind of like a question I saw, I think Brian Clough be asked once about what do you need to do to win a football game, and he said, well, clearly we need to score some goals. And I think, you know, obviously what they need to do is to repeat today's success and do that routinely. And that, you know, involves a lot of determination, but it also involves technical skill, having the resources of various kinds, and having the financial backing. And perhaps most importantly, you need stability to be able to do that sort of work. So, yeah, I hope we do have a stable situation where all of these companies that are trying to do this can flourish and thrive, and we can have lots of exciting things going on in space and space exploration.
Carole Haswell, it's been out of this world talking to you. Thank you very much.